How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs beat writer for On SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today, as we're going to have to put our depth chart description, dissection, breakdown for the Kansas City Chiefs on hold because there is a bigger topic to cover today, as tomorrow the Kansas City Chiefs of the day of recording this, Kansas City Chiefs will take on the Chicago Bears in their final preseason game, which means Chiefs football is right around the corner. I hope that you guys are excited. I think that the NFL as a whole is very much excited to get back and take the stage over once again. And this time, hopefully the Kansas City Chiefs can find their way back to the playoffs, maybe back to the Super Bowl, make some more history. While they weren't able to win last season against the Philadelphia Eagles, they did make history in hopes of getting there with a three-peat. But they could make history this season and tie the only other one franchise in the NFL to reach the Super Bowl 4 straight consecutive years. And I think that potentially, depending on how things go for the Kansas City Chiefs, should they stay healthy, and if their primary players are back to their form as they were last season or back a few years ago when they did win the Super Bowl, I do think that they have a chance. But today, let's break down the breakdown today is going to be what to look for in the Chiefs-Bears game. And I think that it's fairly certain and fairly easy to point out, as looking at the first two preseason games for the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to have to look to win. I know that the preseason games mean nothing in terms of the regular season records, but at the end of the day, they are still losing these football games. And against the Seattle Seahawks, as we saw, they just didn't look as competitive as they did against the Arizona Cardinals. And granted, the Seattle Seahawks, they, in my opinion, are a better team than the Cardinals are. The Chiefs should have had that game be a little bit more competitive. However, they did go into that game with a lot of their depth pieces taking the field. But after the game, as we found out, head coach Andy Reid, when he was talking to the media, he said, you got to expect some of the ones out there against the Chicago Bears. And not only because it's the last preseason game before the regular season, before they take on their AFC West divisional rivals, the Los Angeles Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil, but it is also in front of their home faithful for the first time this preseason. Arrowhead Stadium is going to be rocking with Chiefs fans looking to root on, and they're going to have to get down there, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a way to get on down there, be sure to go do that. Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to be playing some good football with their ones out there. But here are my expectations going into this game. As we saw very quickly through the first two preseason games, Kansas City Chiefs have got to clean up a lot of their mistakes. The first game against the Arizona Cardinals, there was a lot of penalties, and it could be debated, well, some could have gone against the Chiefs versus some that are actually accurate calls against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know that it was a close game, but they still ended up coming away on the losing side of things. Against the Seahawks, though, the defense didn't necessarily look as commanding. They didn't have Patrick Mahomes out there, even though Gardner Minshew looked good in the time frame that he was out there, other than having to throw the football. I'm fully expecting there to be a lot cleaner offense because you're going to have guys who are expected to be a lot of the starters for the Kansas City Chiefs game against the Los Angeles Chargers. It's not just Mahomes. Travis Kelce is likely to be out there as well. He hasn't gotten a whole lot of reps, and I'm fully expecting that Kelce, he's going to have to step up. If this is a game for him where if this is his last final preseason game of his NFL career, why not go out with a bang? Depending on how long he plays, and obviously you're not going to try and risk injury ahead of the new season, but it is something to keep in mind as it's closing in. The Chargers, they're going to be watching this game. The Chiefs, they need to know that if they don't send out their best and kind of make an impression, end this losing streak before they start the season, I know I've broken down several times and I've said it. I know that these preseason games mean nothing, but these are professional athletes. If you don't think that this doesn't affect them, they hate losing. Who likes losing? Yeah, there's a lesson to be taught in every loss, but the Kansas City Chiefs losing 3 straight, dating back to the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. Come on now. We haven't seen it in a second, so it's almost become very second nature. We're like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm also looking forward to see how the offensive line is going to look for the Kansas City Chiefs against the Bears. You got a lot of talent on the offensive line. Now it's just the hopes that how it looks on paper is going to be the production out on the field. You got arguably the best quarterback in the game in Patrick Mahomes to protect. And last season, that's not something that they did very well. I think that if they have a good game defending Patrick Mahomes and protecting him, it's going to bleed well into the regular season opener. Because you know that when the lights are the brightest, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, ones out there on the field, they're going to step up in hopes that they can come away with the victory. I know that there's going to be a lot of people saying, oh, but what about the one-score games from last year? And look at the way that we've been playing this so far in the preseason. To that, I would say, I think that once the lights are the brightest, they're overseas in Brazil, taking on their AFC West division rival, with trying to prove to people, hey, your recency bias is us losing in the biggest game and then a few games before the preseason. They got to find a way to blow out the Chicago Bears out of the water. I think that they need that boost before going overseas. A lot of people have chosen the Los Angeles Chargers to dethrone the Chiefs, and I would like to see and fully expect to see a clean performance. Patrick Mahomes out there utilizing the pass game, as we've always noticed. Steve Spagnuolo being a defensive coordinator wizard that we've seen in the past, whether it be on special teams or if it is with their defensive line. I need to see the Kansas City Chiefs have a dominant win. A win before going overseas and before a season full of primetime games will only boost the morale. That being said, be sure to follow me over on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss anything as we get closer to the regular season. You can also follow us over at KC Chiefs on SI, where we post everything exclusively free to you. Kansas City Chiefs on SI is a place to get your Kansas City Chiefs news. As always, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dominic Minchella. Be kind to one another, and I'll see you tomorrow.